actually a couple of weeks ago, I came back from a 6-week journey to Germany and to India. I got invited to Germany to share some of the Dharma I have learned here at the Abbey, so meditation and giving some talks. And then I have been sponsored to go to a pilgrimage, a 3-week pilgrimage to south of India. And this was a rich journey, and I can only share so much. But first, when I arrived in Germany, I met with the pilgrims. We were altogether 22 of us, all connected with the Tibetan Center Hamburg, north of Germany. And we flew to Mumbai, and from there we met with 2 other Tibetan monks from Seraji who accompanied us, who helped us during that pilgrimage. And with us was 1 monk from the Tibetan Center Hamburg, bhikshu, who also helped us, and then a Tibetan layman. So there were 4 guides, so to say, for us 17 or 18, and 1 translator, because 3 of them couldn't speak German or English. So we felt very embedded through these monks. First, we stayed 4 days in Mumbai, and from there we visited 3 main caves or cave complexes: the Kanheri caves, Ajanta, and Ellora caves. And these are caves that date back to the 1st century BCE and the 10th century, where you could find monasteries, prayer halls, stupa halls, so-called dining rooms, or also for visitors who came, monks who came by. And first we visited the Kanheri caves, and there you could see Buddhist sculptures, relief carvings, paintings, and even it said that Atisha came there to study with his teacher Rahula Gupta. We couldn't find the cave, but we used that pilgrimage to do always prayers. So we always selected one specific cave where we sat down and did a puja together with the monks. And every time we did a different puja. Often we did the Heart Sutra or the Tara puja, or we did certain prayers. That was the most inspiring thing, to sit in one of those caves and to just feel the atmosphere, and to imagine that there have been thousands of monks passing by in these caves, in these monasteries, and sitting and praying. And of course, I was always wondering, how was their practice? And Venerable Shutrun said briefly, I wonder what their distraction points were. So after the Kanheri caves, we visited the Ellora caves. That's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it also contains Jain temple and Hindu temples. And it reaches also from the 1st century, from the 1st century to the 10th century, and it also contains monasteries and prayer halls, stupa halls, and all that. And there you could also find tantric Buddhist reliefs. Then we visited the Ajanta caves. These are about 30 caves. There are more, but not all are excavated. And it's also an UNESCO World Heritage. And the minority of the caves are used for monasteries, prayer halls, dining rooms, and such. And stupa gatherings where people did chanting, where we also did chanting, because the halls or caves have been so carved in a way that when you chanted, it had a magnificent sound effect. And Geshe Pema Samten, who basically was the head of the journey of the pilgrimage, he could not come with us to South India, but he came in spirit, so to say. He asked us before we started the pilgrimage to go and do the Tara practice regularly and collect Tara mantra. And so many of us in Bedouin used the time. We did not chat or something. We just walked and visited the caves, and meanwhile we all chanted our prayers and our Tara mantra and such, and only tried to use our speech in a very meaningful way to learn from each other the Dharma and enrich our practice. And then after this 4-day trip in Mongkot, we went to Mysore, and from there to Mongkot, and that was a 2-day bus ride. All trips we did was per bus, what was very exhausting. Somewhere when you now India, it's not easy to ride on a street there. And there we have been hosted by the Jangshub Shuling nuns. Jangshub Shuling is a nunnery with about 270 nuns there now. They have 17 geshemas. Many of them are teaching there, the nuns. Some are doing retreats, some are continuing with the Tantra College, and some are working in the administration. So they have a rotation who's doing what. At one occasion, we could see many of them in a gathering where they did a debate, evening debate, where the whole monastery had a kind of a contest. And so you saw in the first row at least 10 of those geshemas. That was great to see. And they also involved themselves in the debate to help their students. The nuns themselves have been very inspiring. I remember when we arrived there, it was late at 8 p.m. and then you could hear the nuns chanting till 11:30 p.m. And we have been greeted by the abbot, and so we asked, and he confirmed that we are not any disturbance to the nuns' practice, and he said, yes, we will take care of that. We already scheduled that in a way, so there have been only some nuns who took care of our stay there. So from the nunnery, we visited several monasteries. The nunnery, as mentioned, is located in Mongkot, and Mongkot is a Tibetan settlement. And there you will find about 13,500 Tibetans who are living there now, and several monasteries. It's founded in 1966. And Jangshub Shuling is one of the monasteries. And then you have Ganten Shatse, Ganten Shanse, Trepung Losangling, Trepung Gomang, and then the main temples of these monasteries as well. And some more like the Ratu and 3 different traditions. So we visit all of the temples, including the main temples, the lachis. The main temples are the temples where, when you have, for example, Ganten Shatse and Ganten Shanse, then they have a main temple where they perform, for example, the Vinaya rituals. So, and we visited them, we paid homage to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, we made offerings. Some of the nuns here gave me offerings for this journey. I used that for making offerings to the prayer halls and also for Jangshub Shuling nuns because they really needed some support. Then we visited first Trepung Losangling, where His Holiness the Dalai Lama in Tibet himself studied. Trepung Losangling had some specific, and that was they have stored a conch shell, a very old conch shell that goes back to the time of the Buddha. And I was a little boy, and this boy gave the Buddha a crystal rosary, and the Buddha gave the boy a conch shell and said, you will be the founder of a Ganden monastery. So later on, Tsongkhapa founded Ganden Monastery in 1410, and he gave the conch shell to one of his disciples who founded Trepung. And this conch shell you can still find in Trepung Monastery. It's close behind, it's in a box, very safe box, and there are 7 keys to it. So, then we visited Trepung Gomang and the main temple, and then went further to Ganten Shanse and Ganten Shatse, and Ganten was founded by Tsongkhapa. So and then we always had our Tara mantra in mind, went further, did our processions, circumambulations, and did our pujas everywhere. And we had we then traveled further to Sera, And Sarah is in another Tibetan settlement, and that is in Balakuppe. And it's the first Tibetan settlement. And now you can find there about 10,900 Tibetans, Tibetan refugees. It's housing Sarah J, Sarah May, and their main temple, and then 3 Nima monasteries, 1 nunnery, and 1 Sakya monastery. Yeah. And Sarah J was a Tara temple where we did an extensive Tara puja. It's a beautiful temple. And then in Sarah May, yeah, you could find wonderful paintings of arhats and masters of the Tibetan Buddhism. So, yeah, and then we had also made trips to the Tibetan Healthcare Committee, because the Tibetan Center in Hamburg supported not just Sarah J and the Jangshub Shuling nuns, but also the Tibetan health system there. And so they expressed their support, and always people invited us for lunch or something like that. So there was a lot of connection making and thanking on each side. Yeah, and then in the very end, we visited also other monasteries in Balakuppe, like a Kakyo monastery, a Sakya, and a Nima monastery. And then after that trip to India, I went back to Germany, and there I had the opportunity to share a little bit what I have learned here in Sravasti Abbey. And I gave a talk in Berlin and then some in Hamburg, and I met with the nuns in the north of Hamburg who wanted to hear how the training here is performed to improve their own building of a community. And what I experienced, what I learned when sharing the Dharma through meditation or giving talks, is that it was essential for me to share what I have really practiced myself again and again. It was not satisfying for myself to just read from the paper and just repeat what I may have memorized, but really what they expressed to me themselves is that they really appreciated what I shared from my heart, so to say, because how we practice here at the Abbey is very much a living Dharma. It's not just a pure study Dharma. So and then it was also good to see for me again how the nuns are living in the West in non-communities or trying to build communities. That's very, very hard. And I'm just so glad that we have here this opportunity to live together and to practice, even so it's sometimes not so easy to look at your own mind and to get exposed to certain afflictions in front of others. But together we are so strong and we can establish so much, and we have established so much. So I really appreciated, while I was away again, what we have done here. Yeah, and last but not least, I want to say this whole journey helped me to develop some roots in Buddhism. It's like said, sometimes people who have a long family line, they feel more secure in themselves. That's scientifically proven. And my family line is kind of cut because of the Second World War, and so there's not much I can track back, and a lot of sickness and mental health issues and such going on. And then when I was in the caves, and then further down in the monasteries and nunneries, and experiencing, basically seeing all the tradition that has been going on there, all the practice, kind of imagining that there's a line of Buddhist practitioners and teachers, it made me feel connected and appreciative for what I have here and now. So the connection helps me to improve my own practice. So I hope that you at one point will have the opportunity, if you haven't done yet, some of you have done pilgrimages already, but if you haven't done, to see these places as well, or go to the north of India where you see the main sites of the Buddhist places, to improve your practice and to be inspired. Thank you.